If we play our cards right on today's episode, we could end up winning the North London Derby and qualifying for the knockout round of the Champions League, which I'm sure we'd all agree would be a sterling result. Hello and welcome to Season 19, Episode 5 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we're away against Arsenal in the Premier League and then away against Dortmund in the Champions League. Since you were last with me, stupid form has continued. We went away to Sunderland. This is one of the most ridiculous games I've ever played in. We lost 6-4. I don't know how you lose a game away to Sunderland 6-4, but look at the state of that. I mean, really, they were 5-0 up. 5-1 up at half time. We did incredibly well to drag it back to 6-4, but that sixth goal just killed. In fact, it was 5-4 at one point. They just killed us off with a sixth goal. I thought we were going to have a ridiculous way back into it. We did then take it out on West Ham in the EFL Cup. We've got through to the next round of that. We played Chelsea in the quarterfinal of that, but our league position is precarious to say the least. 9 games into the season, we're down in 13th place. We're still only 5 points away from the Champions League spots, 5 points away from the Europa League spot. In fact, that whole bunch of teams are all only 5 points ahead of us. So a win against title challengers and Premier League holders Arsenal would go down very nicely around about now. It's just not really that likely to happen, is it? This is the team that we're going to be playing to face Arsenal. We are using our Champions League system in the Premier League because I'm fed up of conceding 6 goals away from home to Sunderland. It sits wrongly with me. So this is going to be our team. We've got Igor in goal, Nyhouse, Plotnikov, Eriksson and Dyer our back four. Then we've got Medor sat in front of them with Sabrian and Ziyech in midfield. Sabrian has been the one bright hope of a pretty miserable run of form. So he gets a run actually in normal midfield at the expense of Sedman or, I don't know, Wagner, Anicic, anyone else who could have played there, who probably deserves a run. I like Sir Brian. He gets a game. We've then got Oscar and Sedlacek out wide, and Vendrig starts up front with Claudio Ijo on the bench. He still hasn't earned his nickname. Despite having 12 goals from 11 games, he's just not fit. He's had a little bit of a knock, not quite fit again yet, so Vendrig gets the nod for the all-important local derby. Away against Arsenal. We've lost a lot of games this season that we shouldn't have lost. I worry that this is going to be a game where we're just going to get absolutely battered because we should lose. And I'm not looking forward to it at all. Right, let's get into the game. They're just going to tear us apart. There's 2 ways of looking at it. Either we're going to go there and lose and we were always supposed to lose and that's fine, or we're just going to turn our season around with a ridiculous performance that is completely out of character against the run of form that we've been on, and it's the thing that gives us a little bit of momentum to go into the rest of the season. But I have a horrible feeling by the end of this game we're going to be 8 points away from the top half of the table almost, looking at the way it's set up, and really, really struggling to get back into it. And probably clinging on to the job by the skin of my teeth based on how we're doing in the Champions League. So if we then go and mess that up somehow, we could be sacked by Christmas still at this rate. And that seems mad when you consider how successful last season was and how relatively sensible my summer transfer business was. But there you go. We've gone 1-0 down after 10 minutes thanks to an own goal. Plotnikov own goal. Igor completely wrong-footed. That's over £100 million of a player I've mentioned just there. And we can't keep a really tame shot out. And if we just have a look at this in the 3D, he's on the edge of the area. It's a completely tame shot. Plotnikov doesn't even need to let it hit him. It's going well wide. It smashes off Plotnikov's knee because he lifts it up and lets it hit it, and it completely wrong-foots Igor. Our cross comes in from a free kick. I thought Vendrig would have had a little shot there. He hasn't, and Undie's under a lot of pressure, but does reasonably well to get out of it, but Oscar then messes up and gives the ball back to Arsenal. Eriksson does well to intercept there. Sedlacek is probably the weak link when we play this 4-3-3. I know he was good last year, but he's not a winger. Oscar's in and forces an excellent save from the Arsenal keeper, and we have a corner. Ziyech to take. Can't beat the first man, and hopefully won't get himself into a pickle again. He he's not very quick to release the ball when he gets in situations like that. And that's something that he needs to work on, because he can't just dilly-dally when we've got all 9 of our other 10 players are all crowded in the opposition penalty area. That's the time you lump the ball back into the penalty area. You don't hang around and wait for 3 Arsenal players to rush at you and stop you from being able to play a single pass. He's done it twice, and it's a problem. Igor with the goal kick. Can we get an equaliser just before half-time and salvage something from this first half? It's Oscar to Ziyech. Ziyech to Sedlacek. Sir Brian picks it up deep to Oscar. Medor's running forward to get involved in the attack. We're tapping the ball around reasonably nicely, but with no real end product. We were knocking it around in little triangles, but not actually moving any further forward. And now Arsenal are going to break on us, and probably break with some purpose. There you go. Ball in behind. Cross comes in. And that's terrible from Igor again. And it's another Plotnikov own goal. Goodness me. You spend this much money on a world-class centre-back and a world-class goalkeeper, and they combine to create 2 own goals in the first half of your biggest league game of the season. I mean, sometimes I just don't have any words. He's certainly going down in Tottenham history, probably in Arsenal history as well, isn't he, Plotnikov? Double own goal. He's on for his hat-trick, and I don't really know what to do tactically at this point, because every part of me is screaming, go 4-3-1-2, attack at them. But we've seen really recently, and multiple times this season, what happens when we do this away from home. Sunderland scored 6 goals past us, for goodness sake. But we're going to do it anyway, and we're just inviting Arsenal to score an absolute ton of goals at this point. We'll take off Sedlacek and bring on Ijo. Swap those 2. Actually, no, we'll leave them as they are. And Ndai's just been rubbish. We don't have a spare right back, though. Caetano can go out there. Brace yourselves, this is about to get messy, because, I mean, look at the state of this. We're 13 points behind Arsenal at this point. After 10 games, we were supposed to be challenging for the title this year. We didn't really talk about it. It wasn't something we were discussing openly. We've got to take Plotnikov off just to make the point that you can't score 2 own goals against Arsenal. But we were supposed to be challenging. Champions League was supposed to be doable. The one plus side is, I guess, Arsenal and City are running away with the Premier League between the 2 of them. There's a massive gap between them and the chasing pack, and we're not that far behind the chasing pack. We're actually closer to Man United than Man United are to top of the league. So, at least there's that. But I mean, if we actually examine this league form, and I'm doing this probably just slightly before the board do, but if you take out, is there a way to filter it just so that it's Premier League? Yes, there is. So if you take out all these cup wins that we've got, look at the state of that Premier League form. 5 defeats in our last 6 games. The sack has got to be looming. It's a worry. Few changes for the Dortmund game. We are away. I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm dropping both of the centre-backs. Eriksson and Plotnikov moved to the bench. Plotnikov scored 2 own goals, and Eriksson didn't stop him. So as far as I'm concerned, bin them both off for a little while. Welsh and Caetano come in at the back. We could get torn apart by what is still the best team in the world, but yeah, it's better than 2 own goals against Arsenal. Sedman comes back into the midfield as well, because the Sir Brian experiment didn't really work. I don't know how long I'm going to persist with this 4-3-3-4, because I don't like playing Oscar and Sedlacek out wide. What we might do is try a diamond, maybe. Don't know. Let me know down in the comments. We're getting to that point again where it's all starting to get a little bit tricky, and I need some ideas. We've all seen that Premier League form, and it's bizarre when you compare it to our Champions League form, because, and I know I'm tempting fate a little bit by talking about it at the start of a Champions League game against the best team in the game, but our Champions League form has been excellent. We've won 3 from 3. We're top of our group. Igor's just made a brilliant save. He wasn't doing that against Arsenal, was he? Just chuck it into the back of your net after your mate. I mean, ugh. It's so frustrating seeing the same players play well at this level, but take them down into the Premier League, and they just can't do it. It's like Jordan Todd playing in the FA Cup all over again. Why do you play that much out of your skin? We saw I mean, we are going back a few seasons now, but assuming most of you were around when we were at Ipswich and we had that FA Cup run, Jordan Todd looked like an absolute world beater, playing against the top Premier League teams in that FA Cup run. He never made it as a Premier League player once we made it up there, but it wasn't that he had one good game. He was a world beater for that whole cup run. And some of these players, I think they're guilty of the same thing. They're getting themselves massively up for these really big games and really going for it, and then struggling to sort themselves out when they get back to normality. And it's troubling me. And now we're losing against Dortmund. And I mean, this qualification is by no means sewn up. After this, there's still 2 games. One of them's against Real Madrid. Dortmund are now hot on our tails. They're only 3 points behind us if it ends like this. Real Madrid level on points with us. We could still quite easily mess this up. We've pretty much got Europa League in the bag, but we could still absolutely mess up qualification for the knockout rounds, which should be sewn up. If you win your first 3 games, that should be that. You should be in the it should be in the knockout rounds. Right, Welsh is having a terrible game. Ericsson can come on for him. Sedlacek, we've already identified him as a potential weak link doing this system. I think we probably need to go to what we know best. I know it's a risk, but we need a goal now. So let's go back to the tactic that's never let us down, apart from all those times in the Premier League recently it's let us down. But we've got to grab a goal. Let's go out there and attack. Kev's motto, let's go down fighting. Ijo's going to come off. Nole will come on. Are those 2 the right way round? No, that's the right way round for those 2. Vendrig drops back to be the complete forward. Nole playing as poacher. Nole, similar to Sedlacek, bit of a one-season wonder. He's not done anything for us this year. Hopefully today's the day he re-emerges onto the scene here at Tottenham. I mean, even an equaliser, a draw would be a massive, massive result. But we are running out of time to achieve that. But Vendrig picks the ball up deep. It's one of the few shots that we've seen on a highlight. We've had 15 shots in the game, but 14 of them have been long shots. That's ridiculous. That is just ridiculous. Why do that? That's not how this tactic normally works, either of them. Why have we decided today's the day we're just going to take long shots? Does that mean the striker was getting too isolated when we only had one up top and we weren't getting the ball through to him? I feel like that might be what that means. It's by no means a disaster losing away to Dortmund, but this Premier League situation is worrying me. Because look at the state of that. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.